Welcome back, YouTube. For any of my subscribers, this is going to be something that you probably have heard about. For most of you that are on this channel, maybe some of you newer comers that are tuning into this, realize for the last 5 to 6 years, this channel has been about engine performance. And because of a call out from, or not necessarily call out, a call for, by Uncle Tony's Garage, Tony DeFaro. Now, through the last 5 years, this YouTube channel has been non-monetized. It's not really been to, be entertaining. It's been more for the education part of it. This channel, I do not collect any money for. There is no advertisements in it, so on and so forth. For those that know me personally, know that I owned a multi-million-dollar machine shop that I owned up to a couple years ago, and since have sold it off to the other employees, and they now own the business. I built multiple race engines and worked for multiple high-end racing organizations across the United States. We would subcontract out either in the final assemblies or product development, research and development from all over the world. Now, a recent video by Uncle Tony's Garage was something that was kind of eye-opening, if you will. For those of you that follow this channel, I'm sure that you're aware of the engine dyno tests that are being done by Eric Weingartner, Hot Rod Magazine, Engine Masters Challenge, the fixer-upper type projects that are going on with automobiles, drag racing associations, and all of it stemmed from basically Tony DeFaro had mentioned in a video that I created for him almost 5 years ago now to this day, describing the piston pin offset, the benefits from it, so on and so forth. It went into the investigation into flat tappet, lifters used in engines, to oil viscosities, airflow. This channel has covered over 1,000 videos. Now, you're not going to see those videos because there's a lot of individuals that came out and basically called me out saying you got to prove all this stuff. Well, I am no longer owner of my shop. And the new owners, I have promised them within their contracts that I'm not going to mention the name, bring any kind of attention to them, market for them, you name it. They're starting over with underneath their own management, so on and so forth. But the most recent video from Uncle Tony's Garage, so today is, sorry, you have to excuse me, I lose track of the days now that I'm retired. Today is Tuesday. Now, just for you to know, I had recorded a video yesterday, and as I was downloading it, Uncle Tony's video came up and I was watching it as the video was downloading. I immediately erased it because like minds think the same. Uncle Tony was talking about how the automobile mechanic has something to always fall back on. Anybody that's mechanical and can do a trade with their hands, they'll always be in need. Somebody's always going to have something that needs to be fixed. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's a chair, a wooden chair, to building a room onto a home, or demolishing an area, replacing a refrigerator. The mechanics of an individual that works with their hands, you can never replace it. It is the most valuable tool that God ever designed into human creation, is be able to, visually see things and fix them with our hands. Now, the previous video I was downloading at that same time was going over the difference between what a mechanic is and a technician. And because of that video and a few other YouTube videos coming out and describing that flat rate is destroying the automobile industry, I have to put my 2 cents in that. Basically, things were completely different during the 1970s, 1980s. Okay, obviously it was a long time ago, but it was fair labor charges to customers. So if you did have a 1960s, 70s, or 80s automobile, you did not have the necessary tooling or the time to work on vehicles, you could take it in the shop and If you found a reliable source, you could count on your vehicle to be fixed and come back to in better condition than what you dropped it off at. And the cost that you had to pay for that was something that was regulated. Okay, so there was capitalism included with automobile shops or mechanic shops throughout the nation, normally revolving around a percentage, 32 to 35% retail. So at that time, if you dropped off a vehicle and it took them so many hours to actually do the fixing on your car, you were charged a flat rate shop rate. Normally, the last I remember from our own shop years ago is that we charged $90 per hour for shop rate. That was what needed to pay for all of the overhead costs for the business. So that was the insurance, salaries, you name it. $90 an hour is what it took to actually operate the business. That was, benefits, salaries, taxes, heating and cooling, you name it, came out of the $90 an hour shop rate. And we'd be open for as long as we possibly could in order to get customers' vehicles in and out in a timely manner. We did not we did not revolve around bankers' hours, 9 to 5, so on and so forth, okay? Normally, we'd be in the shop by 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, trying to get the customer's vehicle back to them as soon as possible. And when it came to race engine, that was more of a specialty type thing. So even the catalogs or the books for flat rate for the machine shop saying we could charge this much for honing a cylinder or boring a cylinder times however many cylinders were in the engine. It was something that we were guided on and restricted to. So if we had any kind of dispute with a customer over the fees that they owed us, we could go into the courtroom and argue saying, right here's the national average for this job. It may have taken us actually longer to do it, but we can only charge the amount of what the books, the national standards, told. And a lot of those were made up basically by the manufacturers. However long it took a mechanic that specifically worked on that part of equipment, how long would it take them to do the job? And then that's what the rest of the nation could charge basically for their flat rate. Now, folks, flat rate, shop rates of $90 an hour, they have gone out the window. Now, that was the capitalism. As Uncle Tony's Garage mentioned in last night's video, is that yes, we live in a conservative capitalist nation, but when you have targeted capitalism, that means every single thing, every single charge is receiving a 35% markup. And each and every item is being charged to the customers. So in the video that I was downloading yesterday, I mentioned a job. The front brakes on a 1985 Chevrolet Camaro, okay, disc brakes. In order to actually take the calipers off, change out the brake pads, and either order new rotors or have the rotors remachined, obviously machine shop, so we would rather do that to whatever equipment we possibly can that's within specs. We could do the job easily for $400 to $600 and make enough profits to pay for the actual time that customer was in, saving them. Now, I just reached back out to the previous owners or the new owners and asked them, for this kind of job, what are you charging? Just so I can get a good relation of what things have changed. So again, as I own the shop, I did not want to take advantage of anybody. I would look at the total amount, the total cost of the job, including my overhead costs, salary, so on and so forth, and I would add 35%, and that was the retail markup. So to do the job, which is less than an hour, according to the flat rate books, $600 from the time the car comes in until it leaves under its own power, and can it stop with a warranty with the work that's being done. Today, So this was a measly 3 years ago. Okay, that's what we would charge for that job. And we did use shop flat rates. The mechanics were paid according to whatever the job was described within the guides. Today, that same exact job, utilizing the exact same parts, okay, exact same part numbers from the exact same parts distributor. Now, every single thing within the progress of that job is charged directly to the customer. It is not covered by the $90 shop rate. Once again, the taxes for that business are pushed off onto the customer. The building, the actual cost of the building is pushed onto the customer. So if they have a 30-year loan and they project how many customers they can have within 1 week for over that 30 years, that's the amount they charge a customer plus a 35% markup. The equipment required to do the job, whether that's brand new CNC machines to brake lathes to engine or to car hoists, everything of a piece of equipment inside the building that could be auctioned off for sale. The new cost, because there's normally loans out on that equipment, it is being charged to the customer with an additional 35% markup. The salaries of the workers, once again, if they're making $50 an hour, the shop charges the customer $50 an hour plus a 35% markup. The benefit costs, the health insurance, liabilities, all of the insurances required, all of the benefits required for employment, all of those costs are added in to the monthly fee. And for every customer within that month, that amount, whatever the shop has to pay, is being pushed off onto the customer with a 35% markup. Training. The technicians have to go back to school for a minimum of 2 weeks every year. And part of the benefit package and requirements here in the state of Wisconsin for shops is that their AC certification mechanics have to be updated every single year. So they're going to school and the shop has to pay for it. So over that 1 year, all of the customers that come into the shop, they are charged a portion for the training for the actual mechanics, the technicians, not the mechanics, the technicians in the shop and their training, plus a 35% markup. The profit of the shop. The goal profit of what the shop wants to make over a 1 year period of time is estimated based off of previous years. That amount carries through every year with a 4% inflation amount fixed into every year plus a 35% markup. Okay, hopefully you guys kind of see the pattern here. Now, to compare what I charged a measly 3 years ago, going by a flat rate, and having a standard deducted shop rate of $90 an hour, a front brake job on a 1985 Camaro, front brake job, costs $600 to the customer. Today, that exact same job, with all of the charges being passed off onto the customer, now costs $1,800. Okay? Now, if you're the type of person that is mechanical, that can do things with a little bit of instruction, you can turn onto YouTube, find pretty much any vehicle that you own, and somebody doing the maintenance on it, walking you through the process of even giving you the part numbers and where they got the components from, how to assemble it, how to grease the wheel bearing, which way to orientate the brake squeaker that is located on one of the brake shoe pads. Okay, with a little bit of education, just a little bit of studying on the topic, you can go out and do the job yourself. Now, a brand new set of rotors and brake pads from our local parts distributor, both rotors and the set of brake pads, cost $120. So if you decide to do it yourself, if you already have the tools, basic hand tools to be able to do the job, just a set of socket wrenches and a pair of pliers to basically push in the pistons of the brake calipers, you can do the job easily from anywhere from $120 to $150, including little grease packets for the brake shoes, maybe even a wire brush to clean up the frictional surfaces of the caliper itself, even a can, even if 1 or 2 cans of brake cleaner included. You could do the job yourself for $120. Or excuse me, between $120 to $150. Okay? So we see what the cost is for your do-it-yourselfer. If you have the mechanical skill to be able to do it, you can save yourself a tremendous amount of money. If you can find mechanic shops, let's say your small town mom and pop shops, that don't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get the job back in 1 hour. They'll get to it as they can. They'll work on it. You can negotiate when your car will be finished and when you can go and pick it up. You're going to see the flat rate used, or you're going to have the hourly rate that the shop charges to be the job. Those are becoming a dime, okay? A dime in the rough, or excuse me, a diamond in the rough. They're hard to find. And those individuals can still make profit. Again, they'll be charging more that $600 amount for the same job that you can do yourself for between $120 to $150. But if you take it into a authorized dealer, okay, whether it be Chevrolet or anybody that is certified to get a hold of GM performance parts, or if they have a deal with a local supplier, whether it be, I hate to mention names, but like a CarQuest or AutoZone, so on and so forth, their prices are going to be even lower than that on parts. Okay, this was if you actually buy the manufacturer parts to replace. You can get them even cheaper if you go obviously to the Chinesium out there. But if we look at this list right here, this is what all the new shops are charging to the customers. And it's not only in mechanics, okay? It's not only within your automobile maintenance, so on and so forth. All of these costs are associated with other types of businesses also. If excuse me, there's one gentleman that is on YouTube. I believe he's out in California. He's a contractor, so building homes, so on and so forth. And instead of utilizing the truck that he owned for his personal use, he went out and bought brand spanking new box trucks, brand new pickup trucks, all kinds of brand new heavy duty equipment in order to carry out his construction business or contractor business. All of the equipment was pushed off onto the customer. So his actual basically mortgage payment for his entire business is being passed off onto the customer, where they're paying a higher share of it. Another automobile manufacturer, or excuse me, performance individual within the diesel industry. I'm sure you've all heard of Banks Performance. If you have a diesel worked on by Banks Performance, you're going to be charged this type of rate, okay? Every single thing that is inside the Banks facility, the facility itself, all of the overhead costs are going to be pushed off onto the customer. When YouTube content creators come out and say it's flat rate that's destroying the automobile industry, okay, bogus, okay? Flat rate was something that at least a book would restrict the shop, saying we can only charge the customer whatever the book describes. And normally the book would be shorter in time than what the mechanic could actually do with it. Now, where I'm located at, I'm in the snow belt where we put down salt on the roads. Every automobile, even for an oil change, you're having to deal with rust. Broken bolts, you name it, things up in the air, stuff flying in your face and in your eyes. It will always take you longer to actually do the job than what the book says. But if you go to a dealer, some of their technicians can fit in 80 hours of work according to the flat rate book and only be actually in the shop or actually turning wrenches for approximately 25 hours. So in 25 hours, they're getting paid for 80 hours of work according to the flat rate book. But even at those rates, if you go into the direct manufacturer shop, whether it be Chrysler, GM, or Ford, these are the type of rates that you're going to be paying with a 35% markup on every single step of your receipt. What is this called? Okay, again, I call this capitalism. Okay, you're allowed to charge up to a 35% retail markup on whatever you're doing. That's capitalism. Okay? The common practice that is going on in our world today within the trades, mechanics, plumbers, electricians, contractors, you name it, it is called targeted capitalism. And it was something that, again, like I said, I just created a video basically on the same lines of what Tony DeFaro did. When I seen his video, I was like, well, he's already covered it. The video go out there first. I'm not going to, contradict what he's saying. I can actually agree with them. Okay? There's some things that I don't necessarily agree with what Tony is doing or any other YouTube content creator. But when it comes down to what's the problem here in the United States is that we have targeted capitalism, allowing businesses to take advantage of citizens, their customers, by putting that capitalist markup on every single overhead cost that they have within their business and passing that off onto the customers, expecting them to pay it. You can't pay it, you don't get the job done. Are they following a flat rate book to charge it out to the customer? No. Okay, so if you were to have a dispute with a business that charged you $1,800 for your brake job and you go into in front of a court and the judge is saying, okay, provide evidence of why it cost the business $1,800 to do the job. How many of these things are going to be recognized by the legal system of saying you could pass those costs onto the customer? It is not going to be the 35% at every single step. They're going to have to prove what they pay for taxes, so on and so forth. Show it to the legal services, then say that they added a 35% markup on the total amount. Now, if you are not a math whiz and you do that, it comes out substantially cheaper than what it did before. It's not going to be $1,800. It's going to be $600 of what the courts determine is the actual fee that is owed to you as a business from that customer. So again, it is not the capitalist practices that are costing our nation, our population, the higher living costs. It's businesses out there price gouging and adding 35% markup to everything. Folks, if you have a shop that charges you this way, do not give them business. It's that simple. I don't care if you're under warranty with your automobile or if you have extended insurance or whatever. Never take your equipment to a dealer or to a shop that charges you this much for a brake job. At all costs, try to find at least the shops or the mechanics are on there that still go by one hourly flat rate and agree to what the flat rate book is. Okay, it's not going to be as cheap as doing it yourself, but you're going to have some liability along with that job. They're going to be held responsible for the warranty of any of the work done or any of the parts that were used to do the job. If you do it yourself, all of that's void of warranty. Okay? So 3 levels of cost. Your do-it-yourselfer, going to a mechanic, somebody that charges you the capital markup of 35%, to a shop that charges you $1,800 for all of this. Now, who makes more money? In the end, who makes more money? The individuals that are actually breaking the law. Price gouging is a national law, recognized. So again, if you find shops like this that charge you all kinds of things, don't be afraid to mention their names. Share it. All of my different groups or videos I see individuals say, "Oh, we're gonna avoid any kind of legal lawsuits or defamation charges or anything like that." When you write it down, say that I've taken it in and this business has quoted me this amount for the job. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say like, is that fair? Just share it. People will start to catch on to not use that business. Those businesses need to be shut down. It's that simple. They are price gouging. They are taking advantage of the population. And if you're paying $1,800 for a front rotor brake job on a 1985 Camaro, you need help in more ways than one. So with that, again, I don't agree with everything that Tony DeFaro says from Uncle Tony's Garage. Okay, I don't. But his 40 plus years of experience being a mechanic is showing through. His address to help the individuals first getting into things, utilizing what they already have instead of going out and buying the fancy, shiny, brand new components. He's utilizing what an individual can do on their own for the least amount, for the greatest amount of performance. More people need to do that. There needs to be more do-it-yourselfers. Your mechanical skill can never be taken away from you. It is something that's wired into you. It is something that God has given you. If you can't change the spare tire on your vehicle at the side of the road when you get a flat, I don't care what employer you're driving to, you don't deserve to have that job. That's my personal opinion. Because it literally does not take a third grader to change a flat tire. A person with mechanical skills doesn't think twice about it. We are not all created equal. Okay? With that, if you're the type of shop or a contractor that charges this kind of amount, goes and gets a bit the most expensive stuff to transfer those costs onto your customers, you should be ashamed of yourself. Have a good one.